Okay, thank you all for joining. As usual, I'm here talking about productivity. I think I have around 20 minutes and I'll try to show you Gen AI in action in the context of productivity and efficiency. Now, before we go ahead, let me show you one more slide. Can you scan the code? This video is getting recorded. After the thing is over, I'm going to edit it, upload it. Right now, this link will just go to my YouTube channel, but after 2 hours, you will automatically get redirected to the video of this session. All right, so quiz when we start, just warm up. Everyone does Google search. What are the top 3 keywords globally? Take a guess. Top 3 keywords. I'm showing you the volume as well. This is as of March or April. First, second, third. Just speak up, shout. Ansini. Okay, I'll give you a clue. It has nothing to do with AI. Top 3. Very nice. Someone said YouTube. That's perfect. The topmost is YouTube. Next. Facebook. Very nice. And third? WhatsApp, not just WhatsApp. WhatsApp web. All right. So, what is interesting there? Can anyone tell me? Someone went to Google and searched for Google. I don't know what they were thinking. So it really is worrying trend looking at the IQ of humanity. Anyway, coming back to our topic, I'm going to talk about Gen AI in corporate context. So if you search for it, you will get lots of hits. But broadly, these are the players. And if you filter out those which are business oriented, some of them will get eliminated because some of them are very business specific, related to only their app. Some of them are not business related at all in the true sense of the word. For example, Adobe is only for creative crowd. And yes, Google is there with Workspace, but they are lagging behind. So finally, when you filter everything out, in a generic sense, applicable to everyone at a large scale, across departments, across levels of seniority and industries, only ChatGPT and Copilot are left. I'm sure all of you have already played with both. So I'm going to show you some good stuff about it, some good things, some guidance, some best practices, and some common mistakes, which I've seen people doing all the time. This must be my 130th session or something like that on Copilot. So it's not only doing sessions, a lot of customer interaction. I see a lot of things happening right way, wrong way. So this is a consolidated capsule of what I've learned so far. All right. Now, when we talk about Gen AI, and all of you are IT people, so you must be getting a lot of requests from non-IT people as well about introducing AI. Whether it is genuinely required or not, that's a different issue, but it's at least fashionable. So people want it in their resume or they want to show off that I'm doing something in Gen AI. Fair enough, but these two broad categories always get mixed up. For example, Microsoft Copilot is supposed to work in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. You know that. And there people are trying to develop their own language models. That doesn't work. So we have to segregate where is end user play, where existing LLM is going to be used, and whatever data you give as a part of the prompt, that data is not going to be used for training anything. If that was the case, everyone would have sued Microsoft by now for privacy. So that is never going to happen. That's not going to happen, and that's by design. So many people are trying to do the dev part in Copilot, which is never going to work. Example, I have some SharePoint site containing all HR policies, and I try to ask Copilot. It may give you answers because it has data access, but it's not going to be precise because it has data access to a superset. It is not going to restrict itself only to that. So if you have your own data and you want to build a chatbot on top of it, you have to use the Azure OpenAI path, not Copilot path. or whatever AI path. It may not be Microsoft, non-Microsoft also. But from Copilot, you cannot expect your data to be used for creating a model. That's not the objective, that's not the design, that's not the intention. So if you use your data to train, then it will create chatbots. There is a small tool there called Copilot Studio. If time permits, I'll show you, which does ingest some SharePoint sites and generate a chatbot. But again, there are some nuances there and so on. Bottom line, if there is a necessity of using your data, your domain-specific knowledge, and creating some on top of AI, you have to build the model yourself. Microsoft will give the platform, but Copilot is not the candidate for you. Copilot is for end users, remember. Now, because Copilot is a word which is overused now, it started with Microsoft, now it has become like Bisleri, right? Everyone has a Copilot, correct? Panwala ka bhi Copilot aayega abhi. So, now which Copilot is the question? And to confuse matters even further, Microsoft has also have so many Copilots amongst themselves. It's really confusing. But broadly speaking, whatever Copilot you have in mind, everyone is trying to compare it with ChatGPT. Barabar? The idea is very simple. Microsoft को पैसा क्यों देने का ChatGPT फ्री में करके देता है. Fair enough. But then, if that was the case, why would Microsoft spend money to make that logo? It's not only that money, right? It's a lot of things which are going behind the scenes. But we will go into that later. This diagram or picture itself is wrong. There are two Copilots, at least two in the context of end user. And then there is ChatGPT. So what is the second one? Anyone? First is the M365 Copilot, जिसका $30 होता है. Second one कौन सा है? Not GitHub. GitHub तो अलग ही species. हाँ? No. I'm talking end user. Public Copilot. There is a free Copilot, right? Copilot dot what? Microsoft.com, yeah, or Bing.com/chat, whatever. That is the public version of Copilot. And then there is a paid version of Copilot, which is called Microsoft 365 Copilot. And of course, both of them are based on ChatGPT anyway. So, what are the differences between these is very important to understand. So, this is a busy table, but I will demystify it. First thing is, if you want to use corporate data, the only choice is M365 Copilot. Other two don't have access to it. Yes, some oversmart person will copy paste data there, but that's exposed. So avoid that. Now, because we are worried about that, most people, or many, I wouldn't say most, many organizations have blocked all kinds of generative AI in the network. That is also a bad idea, because then you are promoting shadow IT. People are going to bypass it in some other way. So don't do that. If you block, you are promoting unwanted, uncertified stuff which will never be known to you, and people will go to random sites. They essentially will be phishing sites, and you are compounding the problem rather than solving it. Restriction mindlessly never works. So what do we have to do? Suppose you have Microsoft 365 Copilot. Then do you have to use free Copilot? So we have to understand the difference. Underlying there is an LLM that is made by OpenAI, that's ChatGPT, no doubt about that. But when you use free Copilot, it is using OpenAI's LLM. So data is going there, but it is sanitizing it before it goes there. And it is not stored and so on. I'll tell you what it does and what it doesn't. So that's what it means. Security to some extent is there. But when you use Microsoft 365 Copilot, whatever queries you are going to put there, whether your data or upfront queries, are not going to OpenAI at all. Very important thing to understand. So, बनाया किसने? OpenAI ने. LLM किधर है? In OpenAI. But then it is not going to OpenAI. Then where is it going? So Microsoft has a private instance of it, which OpenAI staff does not have access to. And that is where it is going. Why? Because whatever Microsoft is doing with that LLM has to be following your corporate policies of geolocation, compliance, privacy. If the data is on OpenAI's data center, they have no control. So whatever you do through Microsoft 365 Copilot is actually a private instance, and it will follow all security compliance policies which you have set in your organization already. Now another worry people have is, where is that data going? Is it going to be kept? Yes, M365 Copilot chats are definitely kept. If the user wants, they can delete it, but it's literally corporate data, remember. So someone in audit, someone in compliance may want to look at what was done. How do we keep email communication for 10 years or whatever? Same concept applies here. So it will be available for e-discovery or whatever compliance issues you may come later. Another part is this is a new tool. People are not used to it. So IT would like to know how people are using it and can anything be done to improve it. So you get a lot of telemetry as well. So if required, the data is available. If you don't want it, of course you can delete it. Now, in either case, Microsoft will not use it for chat. So there is a mistake here. Let me correct it. Just give me a second. So if whatever you put in chat, will that be used for training the LLM? So the answer for free Copilot as well as paid Copilot is no. Okay? For ChatGPT, they have different policies not under your control in that sense. Pricing you already know. Customizability and all that we'll go into later. The broad thing you have to understand is even if you have Microsoft 365 Copilot, please encourage people to use the free Copilot. Why? Because they are not competing with each other. M365 Copilot is designed for something else, whereas this one is designed for something else. So let me explain that first. That's why I'm saying don't block. Allow Copilot with commercial data protection. What does that mean? If I go to copilot.microsoft.com, bandwidth thoda kharab hai, but let me see if I can show you. If you go to copilot.microsoft.com, you will see something like this. Just give me a minute. If you go to Microsoft, copilot.microsoft.com, which is the completely free version, what you will see is Copilot, the precise and imaginative, all those things. It will show you GPT-4. And if you log in using Azure AD ID, that is important. That is something you have to enforce. You will see two tabs, work and web. Web means the public version of Copilot. And work means if you have M365 Copilot, that. So in one place, you can switch between the two, and that's a good thing. Because certain things I want to have inward focus with my data being accessed. This is grounded in my data. Some other things I want to do outside without touching my data. So you can switch between the two very easily. But whatever data you put on this web thing, also you have to worry about its protection and all that. So that's called commercial data protection. What does that mean? That means this web version of Copilot, when you log in using Azure AD, you will see a green button called protected. It says your data is protected. Now what does that exactly mean? It means this. And if you scan this QR code, it will take you to the documentation of that. So this is another practice I'm following nowadays, because if something is interesting and I can't show you all the details, put the QR code right there. That makes more sense. Now how do you create QR code? You may have 20 web pages, right? How do you create QR code for any web page? Another quiz. Anyone? How do you create QR code for any web page? No? Okay, let me see if I can show you. Anyone gave the answer? Sorry, I didn't see. No, I'm not talking about tools. I'm talking about a native feature which is here. So this is a simple browser page. Right click. This is a native Edge feature. And that brings us to another best practice. By default, all of your organizations will have Windows and Edge installed. But if you see how many people are actually using Edge, it's again left to personal preference. Don't do that. Yes, you can give personal preference, but if people are working on something Microsoft, it absolutely makes sense to use Edge. For non-Microsoft things, you can do whatever you want. Why? Because Edge has very sophisticated policies which you can control using endpoint management and many other things. So this is how you create QR code for any web page. All right, next. What does this do? Basically, whatever data you're putting, maybe you're copy pasting a Word document and putting it in that public chat because you don't have the paid version. Fair enough. But that data is safe. It will not be saved, it will not be used, it will be encrypted, and you will not get ads. Bottom line is that. And after the chat session is over, it's deleted. All right, let's move on. This is the technical aspect of this. I'm not going to go into that. Bottom line, this is still going to OpenAI, but they don't get any personally identifiable information. That's the idea. Now, this is another concern all of you have. I'm sure you know the answer, but many business users may not know the answer. So idea is very simple. Whatever is generated through Microsoft paid version of Copilot is protected by Microsoft. So customers are indemnified by Microsoft for this purpose. So if there is a litigation, Microsoft can't prevent people from litigating, but whatever that effort and cost, Microsoft will bear. I don't know of any case studies where this has actually happened and what was the outcome, but technically you have actually signed this with Microsoft. Again, the QR code to this detail is there because this is a very common question I get in almost every session. That's why I'm showing it up front. Is the QR code scanning? Okay. All right, let's move on. Now, the next thing we want to understand is memory. There is something called memory. Have you used that? Memory in ChatGPT. It is not yet there in M365 Copilot, but those who use ChatGPT, there is a concept called memory which came a couple of months back. So what does it mean? You use ChatGPT, you create multiple chats and talk about it. Now, if there is something you want to inform ChatGPT about something which is common, it's called system message, where you say, I am a doctor, I work in XYZ field, I am a researcher, some kind of things, and about who you are and what kind of knowledge, what kind of domain you are in, then what kind of responses generally do you expect, verbose or bulleted list? Those kind of generic guidance you can give in system messages. That is already there from day one. But now we have something called memory. And what does that do? It remembers beyond whatever you have given, it remembers context across chats without you having to go to the system message. So I have just taken an example of what I have been doing. Notice, I just chatted with it yesterday to try to create some slides. So it's saying this guy conducts session for CIOs. I prefer purchase links in India, Microsoft 365, Iowa Studio. This is not one day. This has happened over 3-4 months. It has remembered some key topics about myself, which it will use in responding to me in future. If I don't like any of them or if it's a misguided thing, then of course I can delete it. So if you are using ChatGPT extensively, this is a paid feature, you should periodically look at the memory and see if it has not remembered something which is not correct or not relevant in the long run. Now, before we go further, I also want to talk about Adobe because many of you may have creative departments, branding, marketing teams. Absolutely, you should explore Adobe from creative point of view because this is a generic term like Copilot and it has been introduced in all types of Adobe apps and it's really amazing. I myself use Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects and the audio system as well, Audition. So what does it do? Now, for example, what I'm going to do after this session is, this is getting recorded with my laptop mic, which is always pathetic. And then there is room echo, right? So all this in one click, it will remove and give me clean audio. Earlier, you had to know something in audio engineering and tweak it, and it would take a long time. So this is out of the box. It understands what is happening. It detects the problems, automatically applies the whatever EQs and whatever is required, and it will give you. That's just one example. And very soon it is coming into systems. Some other third parties have already started doing, where when you are creating videos, you need illustrations. So you go to some random third-party site, find some images, videos. There are third-party sites also. So one of those third-party sites called Envato has integrated with Adobe. In my editing software itself, it looks at the current frame, analyzes it using AI, and automatically gives me relevant illustrations to choose from. That saves enormous amount of time. Otherwise, I have to go to a separate website, download, upload, all that is gone. So many of these things are natural extensions to what we do. So the underlying thing we have to understand is, it's not for someone else. In your own context, I'm sure you will find lots of examples or scenarios or use cases where it will enhance what you do. And Firefly, if you are interested in text to image, is absolutely outstanding. It has text to image, generative fill, and templates, and many, many more things. So I'll give you one example. These are the types of things it can generate. So you can give some prompt, but prompt is just one thing. It says, should it look artistic or photographic? Then you can upload an image for a reference and say, make it like this, not that image. Whatever I am asking for, it should look like that. So you can put someone's painting and say, make this look like that. Then again, different styles, visual styles. Then different effects. And as though that is not enough, all types of camera angles. All this is the input. So people who want to create good art, this is an ocean, literally. Of course, Adobe is not the only thing. Copilot also is very good at it. Now that's where the difference comes. The Microsoft 365 Copilot cannot generate images and cannot understand images. And many people are trying that and failing. And they want to go to the other Copilot, and that is blocked. That is why I'm saying both Copilots have a purpose to play, and they are complementary, not competing. So keep both on with guidance. So this is the prompt I gave, and this is the image I got. Normally you would have thought it will do some didactic thing like there is image here and picture there and show some rays. No, very smart. There's zero manipulation I have done. As it is, I have downloaded it. So it's out of the world. Now there's another aspect which we need to work on, because this is a costly thing, whichever Microsoft, non-Microsoft, Google. All these AIs are never going to be free, please understand, completely free, because there is a hardware cost involved. There is a lot of bandwidth and infrastructure required. So there will always be paid versions, and there may be some limits also on daily usage and stuff like that. For example, this one, even if you have Adobe subscription, you have to live within those credits, 1,000 credits a day, something like that. It's quite reasonable, but it's never going to be free. So whatever money you're spending, of course you need to understand the cost benefit analysis. How to do that, I will show you a little later. But before that, let me show you some examples of what it can do. Now Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Copilot, how many of you have tried? Few. Okay, so I'll give you a few examples which are not run of the mill, in the sense, go to Word and ask it to create a Word document. That's a very dumb demo. So I'll show you something more sophisticated, but absolutely feasible. So here is an example. I have a CV of a developer, 2 years experience, and I have a JD for a project manager where I need 4 years experience. They are two completely separate documents. Then I go to a third blank document in Word and ask it to say, check if this guy is suitable for this. That's it. No copy paste involved, because this Copilot has access to your data. So you don't need to open the file also. Just give reference to the file. It will put 2 and 2 together, and it gives me everything about it. It's saying lacks experience because there's a 2-year gap. So that's how, if I wanted to, and if I didn't want a verbose description like this, I could have said, put all the parameters in a table and show me. It would have done that happily. In fact, that table which I showed you earlier, ChatGPT and other Copilots, is an output of Copilot. So it's really smart. And if you go to ChatGPT version, it will even show you the code which it used to generate that. It gives you Python code. And nowadays, ChatGPT paid version is also capable of creating Word, Excel, PowerPoint files directly. Earlier, people used to go to ChatGPT, create a slideshow or whatever request, that would give bullets. And then we were copy pasting it in PowerPoint, which is a disaster. Or slightly smarter people would say, give me VBA code to do that. But again, it will still be a black and white slide. So now it can actually generate PPT, Word, and Excel if you ask for it. But of course, it doesn't have any integration with your corporate data. So you'll still have to put the files manually in OneDrive or Teams. All right, so this is one example. Now let's take cross-document example. Here is an example. I have a PPT where we have corporate goals, 4 goals for this year. Okay, separate document. Now I have a partnership proposal I'm entertaining, and I want to check before I approve this, is it aligned with our corporate goals? So same story. Say check if this proposal is aligned with this. Now it actually gives me a table. I did not ask for it because there are 4 goals, 4 rows plus total ranking and a description as to why it led to those results. And finally, it's giving me a conclusion also saying what kind of alignment are we talking about. So this is the level to which it can work now. And all this is out of the box, no customization whatsoever. Now, another very important thing which we have to understand is the Copilot in Excel is not fully evolved. It's still called preview. It's in beta. And currently, whatever it does is quite primitive. It just does conditional formatting, calculated columns, and some small things. So as a power user, people don't like it. But what they miss out is Excel data can be analyzed, not necessarily in Excel. It can be analyzed in Word also. So here is an example. So this is balance sheet data in Excel, standard. And I just copied it and pasted it. If you ask Excel Copilot to work on this, it will not work properly because it requires a raw data kind of table. Means only column, column, column. This is like a cross tab with subtotals. That format is currently not supported. It will come later. But that doesn't mean you get disappointed. You copy this, you paste it in Word. Blank document. Go to Word Copilot, and now I'm asking it to analyze this balance sheet and assess. And now it gives me this. It actually generates the whole thing out of the box, and this is just a screenshot, but let me open the actual file and show you what it did. To save time, I just did that demo in the morning. So this is the file it generated out of the box. It created ratios, and it is telling me all kinds of things automatically. So this is the file. So it created a 5-page document for me. Sorry, this is the wrong one. And finally, it is telling me what is the situation with this company. Liquidity for 4 or 5 types of ratios. There were no ratios in my Excel data. It calculated them, created a table, and it's explaining each ratio in the context of that data. And finally, it will give me some conclusion as well. The highlight I have done, it doesn't do that. Understood? So just because something doesn't happen in Excel doesn't mean it is not possible. It's very much a Copilot thing. And all this data is protected. If you do this on ChatGPT, this is a problem. In fact, many global customers suffered because everyone got excited with ChatGPT. Everyone's finance department went and copy-pasted their balance sheet before they were published, and a lot of companies suffered, Samsung being the biggest. All right, now there's another Copilot for finance where very often finance people do reconciliation, and a lot of time is spent in that. So here is sample data. This is actual expenses, and this is budget, and I want to reconcile. So you just go there and say reconcile. It will pick up which are the parameters which have to be matched, matching columns. It will find out the numeric value. It will find out and give you a nice report. It will also add the text to it, and done. In few seconds, you get the reconciliation. So try it out with your data. This is an add-in. Another amazing thing which is there is surveys. I'm sure all of us do some sort of surveys. We have surveys for in Google survey or SurveyMonkey, whatever tool you use. Now, if you go to Google, of course, the very sophisticated survey system forms, but Google does have AI, but yet they have not introduced it. Look at this. In Microsoft, you go to Forms, and I'm asking it to create a customer satisfaction survey for a fashion brand which sells premium linen shirts. That is the description. Now, all of you who have done surveys, you must have learned the hard way that it is not just about putting questions and answers. It's an art and science in itself. So it understands all that, and it created a nice survey for me. I'm not going to show you the whole survey. If you want, that form I have generated, you can scan the QR code to see what it did. By the way, the QR code also comes nowadays as a part of forms, because very often when we are doing hybrid meetings, I have a survey to do. People who are on the meeting, I can put the link, but people who are in person, how do I give them the link? So now it shows the QR code and it displays the result parallelly. Like that's the reason we used to use Mentimeter and stuff like that, because this wasn't there. So Forms has a present option which shows QR code and this side by side. All right. And now, as though that is not enough, survey is ready. After that, it says, do you want to invite people who have not responded? Because invariably, half the people will not respond. So now it's going to allow you to create a mailer or whatever reminder, and there is a Copilot there. So now I'm saying rewrite with Copilot. It created text in the context of the survey automatically. So wherever possible, Copilot is coming in. So from that point of view, it is evolving very rapidly. What was there in day one versus what is there in now, literally every week it is cropping up somewhere or the other. So that's about forms. I will finish in next 2 minutes. Now, I was talking about the ROI and cost. So I have created a very simple calculator, which if you like, you can use. The calculator is simple. Whatever I'm showing you right now, you try your own use cases and think of use cases which are broadly applicable. It's not 3 people who are going to benefit. The entire mass, larger audience, most users should be benefiting from it. Now, once you have that, what do you want to do? You tabulate it like this. So these are suggested columns. So for example, recap emails is very, very powerful, works perfectly. Everyone is going to save at least 10 minutes out of it every day because that's the first thing we do. And there is an intangible benefit. We often forget to quantify the intangible part because it's not only the time which I saved in searching for emails. Because it is going to collate mails which came 3 days apart, but they are the same thread, it's going to give me better quality communication capability. So all those intangible things also put a number to them. Right now I've taken one user, and you think a typical user will do it how many times? This is every day, so 20. Summarize documents only 5 times in a month. Like that you do, and a simple multiplication will give you this. So these 5, 4, whatever, gave me this much time saving per month. Now convert it to hours and days, and then assume 50,000 monthly salary, and how much of this proportionately 3,000, and how much is the cost, whatever. Like that, you put your numbers. I am not forcing numbers on you, but that will give you a tangible way of assessing what is happening. And maybe you'll be able to justify it and purchase it, but that's wrong. Because afterwards, someone has to implement it with not 1, but 1,000 people. And that is the thing which is completely getting missed today. So buying Gen AI in any context is easy, but you have to have a method to find best practices and disseminate them to everyone who has the license. Otherwise, you will spend, but you will not get benefits. So now question for all of you. What is the biggest benefit of Gen AI in this context? Number 1 question. And who is the biggest beneficiary? So I'll give you a hint. I asked this to ChatGPT. I know there is spelling mistake and grammatical error. So there are 2 mistakes we do when we are working with ChatGPT. We think this topic will ChatGPT understand. That's a very stupid thought because it has ingested everything which is published. There is no topic, no subject, no language, no word in any language which it doesn't understand. So don't have that doubt. So I asked ChatGPT, what do you not understand? And it gave me 10 things. This is very revealing. Understood? So what is essentially it means is it understands everything you can ever imagine. And every customer I have gone to, I have asked topics from them. Their experts have asked for topics, and it has given answers which literally impressed everyone. So please try it out. So now with this hint, you tell me what is the biggest benefit of OpenAI or ChatGPT or Copilot. The concept is one common mistake is happening globally. If I have Copilot, I'm going to use it in my context, whatever my context is, finance, HR, marketing, XYZ, ABC. That is a no-brainer. Of course you do that. But please understand that you can now use that, leverage that to explore other topics which you will never know as well as your core topic and expand your horizon. The cross-functional part of it is the biggest benefit. Functional domain, obviously you'll do, nothing great there. But if you are an HR and you have never looked at finance seriously because you thought it's complicated, now is the time to do it and ask related questions. So expand your horizon beyond your imagination. And that's the biggest benefit. And of course, everyone can do that irrespective of which industry and what role. So with that, I am going to stop talking and thank you for that.